deliver more Central Valley water, and eliminate rules standing in the way.
The order also calls for the Secretary of the Interior over California water policy to bolster fire protection efforts.
California has been in a drought for over 1,000 days. Farms have gone dry, reservoirs are shrinking, and water restrictions have become part of daily life. In the middle of all this, millions of tons of water are being deliberately held back. It sounds confusing, right? People are being asked to save every drop, while a huge amount of water sits unused. This decision is not random, and there's more to it than meets the eye. Behind this move are policies and strategies that aim to address issues like preserving ecosystems and managing water supplies for the long haul. It is a balancing act, but it has left many wondering if it is working. What is going on here? Why block water when there is barely enough to go around? Let us take a closer look at California's water dilemma and figure out what is behind this surprising decision. 1,000 days of desperation. California has spent over 1,000 days in a drought that feels like it is never going to end. The Golden State, once known for its endless sunshine, has been struggling to stay afloat without enough water to sustain its people, farms, and wildlife. Farmers, who used to thrive in the rich soil, are now watching their crops wither. For them, each day without rain means fewer harvests and more uncertainty. However, it is not just the fields that are suffering. The very foundations of life in California are on the line. From the big cities to the smallest towns, water shortages are causing major headaches. Reservoirs, once brimming with water, now resemble parched pits with barely enough to meet even the most basic needs. While locals cut back on showers, watering lawns is practically forbidden, and farmers are forced to make the tough call of letting crops die. The state's officials are making another big decision, blocking millions of tons of water. It might sound completely backward, right? How does it make sense to block water during a drought? Well, the reason behind it is not so simple. California's water woes have always been tied to a complicated system of environmental policies, agriculture, and infrastructure. One of the key players in this drama, the state's water delivery systems. California has a massive network of canals, reservoirs, and pipes that move water around, often from the northern parts of the state to the southern areas. But with less water coming in from the skies, that system has become a lifeline and a headache all at once. One thing the state had to think about was how to protect its fragile ecosystem, particularly its fish populations. Some of the water that is being held back is intentionally not flowing to keep certain rivers from getting too salty. The delicate balance between fresh water and seawater is crucial for the survival of fish species, such as salmon, that rely on these habitats. Without enough fresh water, they cannot survive, and it is a domino effect that impacts the entire ecosystem. On the other hand, there is the question of California's agriculture. The state produces more than 50% of the fruits and vegetables in the US. It is a huge deal when the water needed to keep these crops alive just is not there. With water scarce, farmers must make choices about which crops to save and which ones to let go. Almonds, rice, and grapes, some of California's biggest exports, are especially thirsty crops. As the state diverts water to protect fish and ecosystems, farmers are left to scramble for any drop they can get. In addition to the pressure from environmental and agricultural concerns, the political tension in the state has grown. Some residents argue that the water should be going to the people first, while others stress the importance of maintaining the environment. With so many interests at stake, making decisions about water usage feels like trying to walk a tightrope. Every drop is contested, and the pressure is building. The real challenge, however, is how to manage water in a way that works for everyone. Water scarcity is nothing new in California, but the severity of this drought has brought it to the forefront. With climate change looming large, there is no telling when or if the situation will improve. The drought is forcing Californians to rethink everything they thought they knew about their relationship with water. Should the state focus on preserving the environment, or should it prioritize agriculture and urban needs? One thing is clear: the drought is both a weather event and a warning. California is facing the consequences of years of overuse and mismanagement. The longer this crisis goes on, the harder it will be to come up with solutions. People are beginning to wonder if the state is heading into a new era of water scarcity. Will California's dream of endless sunshine become a distant memory, or can it adapt to a future where water is not taken for granted? For now, all anyone can do is wait. The water is being held back, but for how long? And when it finally flows, Will it be enough to quench the thirst of a state that's been desperately waiting for a break? The next few years will tell us whether California can get back on track, or whether it will continue to face a future where water is as precious as gold. The water crisis puts people, agriculture, and the environment in a fight for survival. But why block millions of tons of water during a drought? Let's uncover the bold strategy behind this decision and its role in California's future. The reason for blocking millions of tons of water. Blocking water in the middle of a drought may sound like a bad idea, right? Who would want to hold back something as precious as water when the whole state is parched? The truth is, it is not as simple as it seems. There is a strategy behind this bold decision, and it is about managing a delicate balance between the environment, agriculture, and the people who rely on water to survive. California's water system is a maze of reservoirs, canals, and pipes. For years, the state has used this system to move water from the wetter northern areas down to the drier southern parts. However, as the drought has dragged on, managing this system has become more complicated. The decision to block millions of tons of water is a response to the fact that some of the water needs to be diverted to protect the environment. Sounds odd, right? Why care about protecting ecosystems when there is not enough water to go around? Well, it is about balance. You see, California has several rivers that rely on fresh water to maintain a healthy environment for fish and other wildlife. The Delta, in particular, is a major focal point. This area is home to numerous fish species, including salmon, which need fresh water to thrive. Without it, they face a serious risk of extinction. The state's water policy has to consider the needs of these creatures, even if it means holding back water that could be used elsewhere. The state's decision to block water comes down to keeping these rivers from becoming too salty. When too much fresh water is diverted, seawater starts creeping into the rivers, making the water salty. This messes up the entire ecosystem. So, rather than allow this to happen, California is keeping more water in the system to prevent the salt water from contaminating the rivers. By blocking water, they are trying to protect the habitat of fish, which in turn protects the entire food chain. Of course, this decision does not come without consequences. While the state is focused on preserving ecosystems, farmers and city residents are feeling the heat. California's agriculture industry is massive, and crops like almonds, grapes, and rice require tons of water. When the state blocks water to protect rivers, it means less water for crops. For farmers, it is a tough pill to swallow. They have had to cut back on water use, and many have seen their yields drop significantly. Some crops just cannot survive without water, and as a result, farmers are losing money. However, it is not all bad news. The water being blocked is not just disappearing into thin air, it is being strategically held back to avoid the disastrous effects of water shortages. If too much water is allowed to flow south, it could lead to even worse problems down the road. Once the rivers dry up and salt water takes over, there's no turning back. By blocking water now, the state is trying to preserve what little it has left, hoping that the situation will improve before it's too late. It is a tough balancing act, and the stakes could not be higher. If the state focuses too much on protecting the environment, it risks harming the agricultural industry. On the flip side, if it focuses solely on farming and cities, the delicate ecosystems might collapse. The challenge is finding a way to make sure everyone gets their fair share without completely wrecking one side or the other. One thing is for sure, California is walking a tightrope. Water is precious, and decisions about its use cannot be taken lightly. The choice to block millions of tons of water might seem counterproductive, but it's part of an ongoing strategy to keep California's ecosystems intact while also making sure the state can continue to function. The reality is, there are no easy answers. With climate change only making things more unpredictable, it is a good bet that California's water management issues are not going away anytime soon. Ultimately, the decision to block water is all about protecting the future. If the state can find a way to make it through this drought without destroying its water systems, there might still be hope for the future. For now, all anyone can do is watch, wait, and hope that the balance holds. Political challenges and controversies. When California decided to block millions of tons of water, it unleashed a political storm. Water in this state is a power play, a bargaining chip, and occasionally a weapon. Every stakeholder, from local farmers to big cities and environmental groups, wants their share. This battle for water has become one of the fiercest debates in California's history, and no side is backing down. Agriculture lies at the heart of this drama. Farmers in California's Central Valley, which grows a significant portion of the nation's fruits, nuts, and vegetables, argue they have been left high and dry. Literally, they claim the government's water-blocking policies prioritize urban areas and environmental projects while turning their farms into dust bowls. Without a steady water supply, crops wither, food prices spike, and livelihoods collapse. From their perspective, the water-blocking strategy feels like a deliberate attack on their way of life. Urban areas argue that the state's population is growing rapidly, and cities need reliable water access. Residents in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego demand secure water supplies for their homes, businesses, and industries. City planners often face backlash for prioritizing urban needs, but they insist it is about keeping California's economic engine running. The tension between rural and urban areas has created a deep divide. Farmers accuse cities of hogging resources, while city leaders criticize agriculture for being inefficient and overly dependent on outdated irrigation methods. Environmentalists have their perspectives on the issue. They argue that blocking water is also about saving ecosystems that are collapsing under the weight of climate change and overuse. Rivers are drying up, fish populations are dwindling, and wetlands are disappearing. To protect endangered species like the Delta smelt and Chinook salmon, environmental groups advocate for strict water restrictions, even if it means cutting back on agriculture and urban water use. This stance has earned them both praise and scorn, depending on whom you ask. Behind the scenes, politicians and lobbyists are locked in a tug-of-war that makes the water crisis even messier. Some lawmakers push for aggressive water conservation measures, arguing that it is the only way to secure California's future. Others fight for fewer restrictions, claiming the regulations are strangling the economy. Lobbyists, representing agriculture, urban developers, and environmental groups, pour millions into campaigns to sway public opinion and influence legislation. The result is a political landscape that's as unpredictable as the state's weather. The controversies do not stop there. Native American tribes have stepped into the debate, pointing out that their water rights, protected by treaties, are often overlooked or ignored. Many tribes rely on these water sources for cultural practices and economic activities, yet they find themselves sidelined in the decision-making process. Their voices are growing louder, demanding justice and fair treatment in a system that has long marginalized them. California's water crisis mirrors deeper issues of equity, sustainability, and power. The debates rage on, and everyone agrees water is essential, but no one can agree on how to share it. California's water crisis is reaching new depths. Literally, the Delta Conveyance project promises to transform how water is delivered, but at what cost? Is it a lifeline for the future, or a gamble the state can't afford to lose? The Delta Conveyance project, a bold solution or a risky gamble? California's water wars have a new battleground, the Delta Conveyance project. Touted as a way to secure water for millions, it is also a project wrapped in layers of controversy, skepticism, and heated debate. The idea is simple on paper. Build massive tunnels to move water from Northern California to the thirsty southern regions. In practice, it is a logistical and political minefield, sparking questions about cost, environmental impact, and whether this will even solve the state's water woes. The Delta Conveyance project is essentially a modern reimagining of water infrastructure. Proponents claim it is the answer to California's water supply challenges, especially as climate change continues to wreak havoc on the state's already precarious water situation. The system relies on massive tunnels that would divert water from the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta to southern parts of the state. Supporters argue that the project would create a more reliable water delivery system, even in the face of droughts and shifting weather patterns. They emphasize that California's growing population demands bold solutions, and this project could be the lifeline cities and farmers desperately need. Farmers and urban planners are some of the project's loudest cheerleaders. Central Valley agriculture, which fuels much of the nation's food supply, depends on stable water deliveries to survive. Cities in Southern California, home to millions of residents, are also counting on this project to keep taps flowing. Without it, they argue, the state risks economic and environmental collapse. For supporters, the Delta Conveyance is a necessity. Not everyone is on board with this vision. Environmentalists, local communities, and tribal groups see the project as a gamble that could backfire in ways California can't afford. The Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta is a delicate ecosystem, home to endangered species like the Delta smelt and Chinook salmon. Diverting water could disrupt the balance, pushing these species closer to extinction and wreaking havoc on the wetlands. Environmentalists argue that instead of building more infrastructure, the state should focus on conservation and improving existing systems. Cost is another thorny issue. The Delta Conveyance project is projected to cost billions of dollars, with estimates ranging from $15 billion to $30 billion. Critics question whether such an expensive project is worth the risk, especially when California's budget is already stretched thin. Taxpayers worry they will be footing the bill for a project that may not deliver on its promises. Opponents also point out that previous large-scale water projects have faced delays, cost overruns, and technical challenges, casting doubt on whether this one will be any different. Local communities in the Delta region have their concerns. Many residents fear the project will harm their way of life, disrupt local economies, and drain resources from their communities. The Delta is a place where people live, work, and farm. For them, the Delta Conveyance project feels less like a solution and more like a threat to their homes and livelihoods. There is also the question of whether the project addresses the root of California's water problems. Critics argue that the state's water crisis is not just about infrastructure, but also about how water is used and distributed. They call for smarter water management policies, such as recycling wastewater, investing in desalination, and improving conservation efforts statewide. From their perspective, the Delta Conveyance project is a band-aid on a much bigger problem. The Delta Conveyance project remains a polarizing topic, with passionate voices on both sides. Whether it will become a lifeline for California or another misstep in the state's long history of water struggles is still up for debate. Misinformation's role in the water crisis. The water crisis is a battle against nature and a war against misinformation. When facts are twisted or simplified too much, confusion spreads, leaving the public misinformed and hindering effective action. California's ongoing water issues are a prime example. Misinformation often muddies the water, creating misunderstandings about how water is allocated, used, and conserved. While many people target the state's agricultural sector for using too much water, the situation is more complex than simply blaming one industry. California's agricultural industry is vital to both the economy and food supply, so focusing solely on water use in this area ignores the bigger picture of resource management. Social media plays a major role in spreading misinformation. In a time when facts are quickly shared and sometimes misrepresented, false claims can gain traction with alarming speed. A common misconception is that California dumps millions of gallons of fresh water into the ocean every year for no good reason. While it is true that some fresh water is released from reservoirs into rivers and estuaries, the purpose of these releases is to protect ecosystems and maintain the health of fisheries, not wastewater. The oversimplification of this practice ignites public outrage without offering the full context. Misleading information can also drive a wedge between urban and rural populations. City residents often blame agricultural water use for the crisis, while rural communities point to urban sprawl as the problem. This us versus them mentality distracts from the larger issue of sustainable water management. When people do not have the correct information, it is difficult to find common ground and support policies that meet the needs of everyone involved. Unfortunately, misinformation can lead to poor decision-making at the policy level. Public backlash, often based on false beliefs, can put pressure on elected officials to make decisions that are not backed by science or sound data. These reactions can ultimately lead to policies that fail to address the root causes of the water crisis. The push for easy fixes, like draining groundwater resources or enacting harsh water restrictions, can lead to long-term consequences, all because the facts were not communicated from the start. To truly tackle California's water issues, combating misinformation must be a top priority. Spreading knowledge and ensuring transparency from experts is key to correcting misconceptions. When the public is properly informed, they can rally behind solutions that will make a difference. As long as misinformation continues to thrive, progress will be stunted and trust in water policies will remain shaky. So, scientists, lawmakers, and media outlets must work together to present the facts. Only then can California hope to move toward a sustainable, water-wise future. California's agriculture is a lifeline and a lightning rod. While it sustains millions and powers the economy, its enormous thirst for water sparks heated debates. Can the state strike a balance between feeding the nation and conserving its most precious resource? Agricultural water use, a double-edged sword. California's agriculture is a powerhouse, producing a staggering portion of the nation's fruits, nuts, and vegetables. It's crucial to the economy, feeding millions and fueling the state's wealth. However, this economic engine also comes with a major catch: the amount of water it requires. The state's water systems were designed around agriculture, with a massive portion of the water supply going toward irrigation. The catch: agriculture uses around 80% of the state's developed water supply, which raises eyebrows, especially in times of drought. On one hand, this water usage is a necessary sacrifice. Agriculture needs water to grow the crops that feed the state and the country. For instance, crops like almonds, lettuce, and grapes need substantial irrigation to thrive in California's dry climate. Without sufficient water, these crops would not grow, and the economic impact would be devastating. On the other hand, excessive water consumption in the agriculture sector is often seen as unsustainable. The state's water infrastructure is aging, and climate change is making droughts longer and more intense. This situation begs the question: can agriculture maintain its place in California's future, or is it a ticking time bomb? Some critics argue that water-intensive crops, such as almonds, should be reconsidered. Almond trees are notoriously thirsty, and California grows around 80% of the world's almonds. This may sound great for the almond industry, but it also raises environmental concerns, especially in drought conditions. Growing almonds requires a lot of water for every pound produced, making it a prime target for those calling for changes in crop selection. Other crops like rice and cotton also use huge amounts of water, which brings the spotlight onto agriculture's role in the water crisis. However, agriculture is not the sole villain here. Urban areas also contribute significantly to the state's water use. Residential consumption and urban sprawl use large amounts of water too. Yet, agriculture often gets the most blame, which does not paint the full picture. The real issue lies in finding a balanced approach to water use across all sectors. The solution does not lie in just cutting water from agriculture. It lies in efficiency. Farmers are already making strides toward water-saving technologies like drip irrigation and drought-resistant crops. The adoption of these technologies, coupled with smart policy decisions, could help make agricultural water use more sustainable. If done right, California could continue to be a global agricultural leader while conserving water. The debate over agriculture's water use is far from over. With a growing population and increasing climate challenges, finding solutions will not be easy. Yet agriculture's role in California's water crisis is undeniable. How the state balances its agricultural needs with environmental sustainability will shape the future for everyone in California: farmers, residents, and businesses alike. Urban water conservation, doing more with less. As California's water crisis looms, the cities are waking up to the hard truth. Urban areas cannot keep using water like they always have. From lawns to showers, urban water consumption has always been a bit out of hand. Cities across California are now facing a growing dilemma on how to do more with less water. Urban areas are consuming more water than ever, and there simply is not enough to go around. It is not all doom and gloom, though. The silver lining is that urban areas can hugely conserve water. From high-tech solutions to simple lifestyle changes, the potential for water saving is vast. One way to make a big difference is through the use of efficient appliances. Low-flow toilets, water-saving dishwashers, and showerheads are being installed in homes across the state. These small upgrades add up quickly, helping to reduce water usage without compromising comfort. California's water conservation efforts in the urban sector have been so successful that they have become a model for the rest of the country. Another transformation is landscaping. Gone are the days when homeowners let their lawns drink up gallons of water every day. The rise of drought-tolerant landscaping, or xeriscaping, is changing the way Californians think about their outdoor spaces. This type of landscaping uses plants that require little to no water, such as succulents and native plants. Not only does this save water, but it also reduces the need for pesticides and fertilizers, making it a win-win for the environment. Cities are even offering incentives for homeowners to swap out their water-consuming lawns for these more sustainable options. Then, there is the push for wastewater recycling. Some cities are ahead of the curve, already reusing wastewater for things like irrigation, industrial cooling, and even non-potable uses like flushing toilets. While there are still challenges around treating and processing this water for safe use, the potential is huge. The idea is to stretch every drop of water as far as it can go. Public awareness also plays a big role in urban conservation. Cities are running campaigns, educating residents on ways to reduce water consumption and the importance of saving water. These initiatives are encouraging Californians to cut back on their water use, and it is working. Water restrictions may not be fun, but they are an effective tool in times of crisis. It is about getting people to rethink their habits, from shorter showers to turning off the faucet while brushing their teeth. Urban water conservation is reducing the amount of water we use, making smarter choices, and investing in the right technologies. It also means creating a sustainable future where urban centers continue to thrive without draining the life out of California's water resources. As the population grows, cities will need to keep innovating and finding ways to maximize every drop of water. The good news? It is possible, and we are already seeing the benefits. The more we conserve now, the better prepared we will be for the future. The future of California water wars. California's water wars have spanned generations, and it is clear this battle is not going anywhere anytime soon. With climate change, population growth, and the ever-increasing demand for water, the state's struggle to balance environmental, agricultural, and urban needs will continue to spark intense debates. In the coming years, innovative solutions might offer a glimmer of hope, but there are no easy answers. The state is banking on technology to ease some of the tension. Desalination plants, which convert seawater into freshwater, are making waves in coastal areas. While still controversial due to their high energy costs and environmental concerns, they may become more viable as technology advances. Water recycling, particularly for agricultural use, is also gaining traction, helping reduce reliance on freshwater supplies. More communities are adopting water-saving technologies, and urban areas are improving their efficiency by implementing smart irrigation systems, low-flow appliances, and wastewater reclamation. These efforts could shift the focus from mere conservation to actual sustainability. However, political and social challenges persist. As groundwater levels continue to drop, the state is under pressure to establish tighter regulations. Rural areas face accusations of being overlooked by water policies that favor big cities, while cities argue that they should not have to compromise their future for agricultural interests. With the pressure mounting, the question of equitable distribution has never been more urgent. Local water rights, tribal sovereignty, and regional conflicts over water allocation will remain hot-button issues. Some fear that as the battle intensifies, California could face more legal disputes between farmers, residents, and the government. Looking ahead, Californians will need to decide how to adapt to an increasingly unpredictable climate. If the state can manage the competition for resources and embrace long-term solutions, the future of its water wars may not be as bleak as it seems. For now, the fight for California's most precious resource is far from over. Well, there you have it. The battle over California's water resources is far from over, and the stakes could not be higher. From the Delta Conveyance project to the ongoing droughts, every decision counts. What happens next? Who knows, but one thing is for sure. This water saga is far from finished. If you enjoyed today's video, do not forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more. We will see you in the next one.